Hi guys, I'm Lily. I am an education intern at the Green Bay Botanical Garden this summer, and on today's Facebook Live we are going to talk about bringing pollinators to your own garden at home, hopefully. So we have a couple different things that we want to highlight today. We're going to talk about some plants and a couple other strategies as well. So the first thing that I want to show you, which if you've come in or if you've watched the other Facebook Lives, you might have seen a little bit of before, but we have a lot of fruit bowls in the exhibit here. So this one has oranges in it, and obviously there are a lot of butterflies in there right now. They're very happy to be in there. So the reason that we have these fruit bowls out is butterflies are attracted to sugar, especially things with a really high sugar content. So when we get fruits, they're often from grocery stores and the fruit is a little bit overripe. They can't really sell it anymore, but the butterflies love it. They love that high amount of sugar. Specifically, a lot of the butterflies that are on this plant, or on the orange right now, are a lot of the tropical butterflies. Tropical butterflies in the wild would have more access to fruit than native butterflies would, so that's why there's so many of those on there. So in your own home, you can try putting fruit out, and if you have kids, it might be a fun experiment with the kids to try different types of fruit and see which fruit works better to attract butterflies. But just know that if you do start to put fruit out into your own yard, you might have other animals like squirrels and chipmunks trying to eat the fruit as well, so put it out at your own risk. The other thing is it's very dense with butterflies in here. We have a lot in a very small space, so while you may see 10 butterflies on a fruit bowl in here, it's not necessarily the same at your own home, but if you want to, you are welcome to try it out.
Are there certain species of butterflies, Lily, that prefer the fruit?
Like I kind of mentioned, I think some of the tropical ones do prefer the fruit, but right now we have a monarch on here, and we also have a buckeye hanging out at the edge of the fruit bowl, and those are both species that are native to Wisconsin, so those definitely will be attracted. I haven't seen swallowtails in a lot of these fruit bowls, so if that's one you're looking to attract, a swallowtail might not come to your fruit bowl. But again, just at your own home, you can kind of see what will come if you put it out. One of the other bowls that you can put out is a bowl of sugar water. Currently, we actually have Gatorade in here, and Gatorade, as opposed to normal sugar water, just has a couple of those extra minerals in there that the butterflies really like. That's exactly why they land on your skin sometimes in here, because they want the minerals from your sweat. So often butterflies are very happy to be drinking this Gatorade, but sugar water may do the same thing. It may also attract butterflies. We use about a 1-to-4 ratio, but you can try a couple different ratios. Don't go too heavy on the sugar, but again, that might be something fun for the kids to try. Just see if there's different ratios and if they attract butterflies differently. But just like the fruit, sugar water is not necessarily the #1 thing that's going to attract butterflies. We're going to highlight some plants after we finish talking about the sugar water, because that's really what the butterflies would see in the wild, and it's what might attract them the most. Alright, now I want to talk about a plant that a lot of people notice in here. This one is called an almond verbena, or a sweet almond, and it is one that is not from Wisconsin, and it's not related to the almond tree, but it does itself become a tree if you let it grow for long enough. But it has a really sweet smell, almost like an almond, which is why I think they did name it the same thing as the actual almond tree that produces nuts. But as you can see, a lot of butterflies really love hanging out on there. We've got some atalas, we've got a zebra swallowtail hanging out on there, we've got a zebra longwing as well. There's even a couple peacocks and buckeyes on the other side. So this really attracts a diverse amount of butterflies onto here. When people come in, they're always seeing butterflies on this plant, always asking about it. You can buy it. You'll have to go online to buy this plant. I think the website is Plant Delights is where we got it from. It is of course really good to support a lot of local vendors who have native plants that you can put into your yard, but just because this does attract so many butterflies, a lot of people were kind of interested in purchasing it, so I wanted to mention that if you wanted to purchase this one, you can do that online. Because it's not a native plant, you will have to bring it inside over winter if you would like to keep it. It's not going to stay outside over winter, but we have it in pots here, so you would be able to put it in a hanging basket just like this and see if it attracts some butterflies to your own home. One of the ones that I see on here is the buckeye, and that's one that is found in Wisconsin. I think a couple of the swallowtail species are also found in Wisconsin, so some of the native species are attracted to this plant. Alright, so now I think we are going to go outside and we are going to show you guys our pollinator garden that is right behind the butterfly house, very conveniently located to show you a lot of the Wisconsin native plants that you can have to attract butterflies to your own garden. I'll just have you go through the door first, Talia, so we can try to prevent butterflies going into the exit. Alright, we are good to head out. So follow the sign, follow the arrow so you can get to the pollinator garden. We have a couple signs up that will tell you a little bit more about pollinators, and you're welcome to take pictures of those as well. So there are a couple different types of plants that you want to have in your pollinator garden. The main two would be a nectar source for the adults and a host plant for the caterpillars and for the butterflies to lay their eggs on. So the adults are going to be drinking nectar from flowers. So we have a lot of lantanas out right now. Those are very beautiful and bright. They are not native to Wisconsin. They are annuals that we bring in for the beginning of the season before some of our native plants have started to flower. And that's a really important point. You want to have plants flowering throughout the entire summer. So you can bring in some of those really bright tropical annuals for the beginning of the season, and then have some perennial native plants that will be flowering later in the season, because you want to be attracting butterflies all season. You don't just want to have them in the beginning or the end. So some of these other plants that are kind of green right now are going to flower later, and those are a lot of the perennial native plants out here. We do have signs by all of these plants, little black signs with the very specific plant name, and it also has the scientific name underneath, and you can use those to determine which plant you are looking at. And I really want everyone to come to the garden here and realize that you can have this at your own home. The garden is not this special place, and people can't say, oh, I would never be able to do this at my own home, because you really can. The garden is here to bring ideas to your own home, so that way your garden can be just as beautiful and attract just as many pollinators as the Green Bay Botanical Gardens is. And now we're going to walk over to some of the host plants. So the thing about butterflies is they all have a very specific host plant. Some have a couple host plants, but they can really only lay eggs on those host plants. Their caterpillars are very picky, and they will not eat most other plants. So if you're trying to attract butterflies, you need the nectar sources for the adults and the host plants for the caterpillars to be able to eat once they hatch from their eggs. So we have some dill here. And dill and parsley, I know, are both host plants for the black swallowtail. So those are great to have, of course, because then you can have some herbs for yourself and for your cooking as well, and they will also hopefully attract swallowtails. Milkweed is a really popular one that everyone seems to have heard of for monarchs. So just make sure that if you are building your own garden, you have something for every life stage of the butterflies. If you come here, you can check out this sign right here because there are a couple of those big reminders of what I just said, of what you really need to include in your pollinator garden to make sure you have absolutely everything for the butterflies. These have to be in very sunny areas of your yard as well. If you've been inside the butterfly house, you can see that they're always flying around if it's really, really sunny, but if it's a cloudy or kind of a drizzly day, they are not quite as active, so understand that the butterflies really love the sun.
And Lily, if people want to find some inspiration for pollinator garden designs, where is a good place for them to go?
Yeah, so you can definitely come into the garden here. Also in the herb garden is a great place to check out. There's a specific area of the herb garden that has pollinator plants. And then one of the best things to do is go to gbbg.org and you can look at all of our information on pollinator plants on our website, because I understand that sometimes coming to the garden there's so many plants it can be a little bit overwhelming. So you can always double check all the information on the website and hopefully be able to build your own beautiful garden.